pleasant good morning to everyone, and welcome once again to another edition of the Coles Brown Show, heard exclusively, as always, right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. You hear the band in the background. It is simply game day. The game, the rivalry, spring edition. You can tell I'm going to be pumped up. I'm going to be fired up. And hopefully, when it's all said and done, I won't be in a bad mood. You know what I mean. Southern and Jackson State today at 4 p.m. on ESPN. Today's guest menu looks like this. Former Southern University offensive lineman and now the head coach at St. James High School, Coach Robert Valdez, will join me in hour number one to talk about playing, taking part in this game. And also, just maybe, we can get him to give us his thoughts on this game this year, the spring edition, and his analysis. No predictions, at least not yet. Following Coach Robert Valdez will be Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network. He wants to give his perspective on this game today, Southern University and Jackson State. And, of course, we'll have some news and notes from the conference as well. Then in hour number two, regular scheduled guest, Coach Van Pettaway will join me. He's the Coles Brown Show's basketball analyst, and he'll give us a slight preview of the Final Four in men's basketball. And also, I'm going to get him to weigh in on the women's Final Four, some very exciting ball games as well. And then last but not least, Brandon B.J. Jones will join me in the final segment on today's show of HBCU Game Day. So we got a full guest menu for you, and as always, look forward to your participation and input on today's show. And you can do that by simply going on Facebook, the Coles Brown Show, Facebook Messenger page. Leave a question or comment, and I'll do my best to incorporate you in today's show. JSU, Southern University Spring Edition. Football game today, ESPN, 4 p.m. Here's what else is trending on today's Coles Brown Show. The Spring 2021 Cricket Wireless SWAC Football Championship to now be carried on ESPN2. So to a higher tier part of ESPN family of networks. Also, congratulations in store for Coach Smith. Prairie View A&M earns the Hugh Durham Award. Quite simply, he's done an outstanding job this year. He's been consistent. He's tough. He preaches discipline. So kudos and congratulations to Coach Smith at Prairie View A&M men's basketball coach. And then last but not least, more COVID-19 complications for Grambling State University. And quite simply, I'm just going to ask the question. Could the Bayou Classic be just simply on the danger zone? You know, that timeline, there is no room for error. If more cases pop up, not only at Grambling State, but Southern University, could the Bayou Classic be in danger? The spring edition in Shreveport, could it be in some danger? I'll put that to you. On a somber note, my high school football coach, Coach Roman Bates, passes away at 86 years old. A legendary high school football coach, played for Southern University, but well known as the head football coach at Capital Senior High. I'm a class of 1982. Yes, I've been out a long time. Capital High School. But this coach, this person, this human being, he was fair, loving, tough, and he loved the community. He loved Capital High School. And I guess the last time I was able to kind of talk with him, if you remember, he was like I would say a part-time volunteer coach at Southern University with Coach Richardson, and got a chance to talk with him then. and he's truly going to be missed. He really is. And this is part of the life cycle. This is the part that, sometimes is uncomfortable to talk about. But as you are born, you will journey, pass away. So to Coach Roman Bates, his family, he has journeyed on. He is entitled to eternal rest. And rest easy, Coach. Tremendous, iconic, legendary football coach. Just wanted to say that. Also, you can email me at thecolesbrownshow@gmail.com. Also, over all social media platforms, Twitter, franchise_show. On Instagram, Coles Brown Show. With that being said, I will offer some thoughts, some analysis of this football game. Let me just say this. I am extremely concerned about today's ball game. That's just me. And you know how I feel about whatever sport that Southern partakes in against Jackson State. It could be tiddlywinks, checkers, backgammon, whatever. And you look at this ball game, it's been a success for Coach Odoms and the football program against Jackson State. The last loss, if I'm not mistaken, in the regular season at A.W. Mumford Stadium in 2013. So that's a nice streak. And when you look at rivals or rivalries, you win some, you lose some. Now, with Jackson State, they're on a nice win streak. Eventually, that's going to come to an end. Ugh. Hopefully not today. Hopefully not in the fall. You have, in a normal setting, two outstanding bands that set the tone for the game early on. When you get into Jackson and you are coming down, I call the little hill, and you have the hospital to the right, Veterans Memorial Stadium to the left, and the smoke, it almost looks like it's a forest fire. And then when you get close enough, because there's a line getting in, and I'm talking about on normal circumstances, it is packed. RVs are all over the place. It is to me, and I often get in trouble for saying this, but to me, this is a rivalry unlike even when you're taking on Grambling State in the Bayou Classic, because the fan bases are they mirror each other. They are both cocky and arrogant. They are. So it's like a mirror. You're looking at the mirror. And I remember seeing the first time I went to this ball game in Jackson, I remember seeing some people from Baton Rouge that I hadn't seen in 20 years in Baton Rouge, but I saw them in Jackson. Even a famous minister was there. And boy, he was having a good time, and I'll leave it at that, in the crowd. But I'm sure he made the Sunday service. So, and you've had some tremendous coaches that take part in this rivalry. So the setting is there. Albeit it's in the spring, doesn't matter. This is an important football game. Now, it doesn't count in the conference standing, but, pride is on the line, et cetera, et cetera. All of that. So we're going to ask even our guest, Coach Van Pettaway, his thoughts on maybe, coaching in a game of this magnitude. Then you have the dean of the Southwestern Athletic Conference football coaches, Coach Odoms. I'm so nice to Coach Odoms. I don't put any pressure on him. I know a lightning bolt may come down. And then you have Coach Sanders. He talked about it this week, about the rivalry. He's heard a lot about it. He's read some information on it, but he'll be able to feel it, touch it. So when you interact with me today, you can give a prediction if you care to do so, and on your analysis of what will happen in this ball game. I'll be sprinkling my thoughts throughout today's show. Now let me, as always, the producer of today's show, and get ready here, Dr. Brother Michael Prince. Good morning to you, sir. And first and foremost, how are you doing?
Okay, Coach, I'll let him know. Hey, good morning, man. That was Coach Odom's on the line, and he was letting me know that you have 4 downs of eligibility, and if you want to get it in today, they got a number for you. They got number 72 with your name sealed on it, and said, "Come on in." How you doing this morning, man?
Well, I'm doing fine, and I tell you what, one of my keys for Southern on defense is they must tackle in space, and they must tackle well. When you get there, you got to wrap up. And also, Dr. Prince, let's see early on. Jalen Jones has improved, but he still is a quarterback like Skelton. That he's, athleticism, he can beat you with his legs, but he has improved in the passing aspect of his game. But I think Southern has to put a spy on Jones, because he did some damage against Alabama State in the second half. But that's one of my keys there. But I'm doing well. How about you?
Man, I dare not complain. I got my shot. My whole family is vaccinated, and we're doing good, man. Resurrection weekend, I think I'm married to the prettiest woman on the planet. So I'm good, right, man. I'm good.
Well, and you're among the
living.
You woke up this morning.
Woke up this morning. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Well, congratulations to Prairie View A&M's Coach Smith.
Yes, sir.
The Hugh Durham Award.
Yes,
Best
sir.
Mid-major coach. I could not disagree with that. Also, Coach Johnny Jones did a wonderful job as well. But kudos on Coach Smith.
Yes, sir. He had a very interesting conversation last Sunday on our Sunday Night Live, talking about players entering into the portal. And if you were to read in between the lines, no one is bigger than the program. And if you feel like you're bigger than the program, or you can do better than the program, then by all means, God bless you.
Yeah, well, hopefully things will get back to somewhat normalcy.
Will it ever?
Next basketball season. So we're hoping it's going to be better.
We hope. We hope.
Because COVID has,
it has rewritten the way things have been done forever.
Yeah, and so it's good, for those who want to get vaccinated. There's the opportunity to do that. That's a personal choice for many. But most of close people to me, and me included, we made the decision to do it.
Yes, sir. It is, like I say, it's a free will.
Yeah.
Nothing, and there's nothing to it. At least the one I took, it was nothing to it. I felt a rubbing on me more than sticking me. Wow.
I heard that, and some with the second shot, they're experiencing some side effects, but it goes away as quickly as it comes. So it's a good thing. Last but not least, before we get ready to transition to our first guest, the football game, the game of the week. I mean, and we're going to look at the other games as well, but no one would argue this is the game of the week in the conference. What will you be looking for in this ball game?
You know what? I'm going to be looking for a couple of things. I want to look and see how Jackson State rebounds with consecutive, what I'm going to call upper tier competition in the conference. They were the darlings of the conference. They jumped out to the 3-0 start. But let's be honest, you beat Edward Waters, Mississippi Valley, and a troubled Grambling State Tiger team. You get a rough bump against Alabama State. Now you're coming up against a team who does exceptionally well coming off of bye weeks in the case of Dawson Odom in preparing. And this by far would probably be even a greater task, at least in theory and on paper, than what they had against Alabama State. And then on the backside, you want to see what Dawson Odoms is going to bring to the table along with the Jags. It's kind of a gray area for Jag Nation, you special people, and so I'm really I know, watch it, right? But I'm really going to be intrigued. To me, the first 3 series are going to be the tone setters because Jackson normally had got out to quick starts, and if they can set that tempo, they being Southern Jags, it'll be very interesting to see how it's going to go. Now, if I were to pick a team on today, I would probably lean toward the experience of Coach Odom and his staff.
Well, now that's interesting. And if I could play devil's advocate, albeit Coach Sanders, and he's assembled a very good support system staff, I think with Southern, now they have to make 5 hires. Now the defensive coordinator, Coach Washington, is back, and you have Coach Clark. But offensive coordinator is new, offensive line coach, and over the run game, he's new. Then you got safety coach that's new. So how well have they been able to gel and know their personnel? That would be one thing. But now, if I can do this, let me read what Chad says, and we appreciate it. He says, my question and comments for the show. Southern will have to watch the first quarter of the game. I would agree. Jackson State will be fired up to end the losing streak. I would agree again. First time Coach Sanders versus the dean of the SWAC. Watch for the turnover margin and lead changes in the fourth quarter. And I was looking at some notes. JSU has, mindful, to your point, it was Edwin Waters, so it will really balloon those statistics, but they've done a great job in the third quarter, and they get off to a fast start as well.
That's why I was saying the first 3 series is going to be extremely important, at least for me.
Yeah, no, I understand that. And then also, if we go back 2 weeks, Alabama State on first down, I always like to look at balance on first down. If you get into being one-dimensional, even on offense, period, but on first down, I like what Alabama State did. They threw with Nettles. They threw and was successful on first down. Southern will need to be able to mix it up on first down. I'm sure they're going to try to run the football. Look, Dr. Prince, I think both teams will try to make their opponent's offense one-dimensional. Take away Southern's run. Are you comfortable enough, confident enough that Southern can throw and be productive in the passing game? With Jackson State, they got some big receivers on the outside, and to me, Jones has shown he's a better passer than Skelton. Now, if you want to debate that, you can do so.
Well, not necessarily a debate. I believe the desire and the will of both programs today will be to establish the run, to eat up the clock, and then open up the pass game. I think this is going to be a very fast-played game. And when I say a fast-played game, I think it's going to be very limited passing. Very limited passing. Because it's going to be one of those games where you want to it's going to be a chess match. You're going to play it safe not to turn over the ball, but you still want to move the ball, if that makes any sense. High percentage passes, more swing passes, and look for some screens today. Look for some screens because both teams are aggressive up front. And the way you slow down an aggressive line is you throw some screens right behind them. Then when they soften up, then you can run at them. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking. Skelton is probably going to be a little bit more athletic than Jones, and you try to use that to your advantage. Hopefully he can play with a level head today and get some things done. But like I said, I think this is going to be a very good match, and to be quite honest, I see a maybe 10-point margin of victory for the Jags.
I'll take a win. Point blank, I will take a win. And here's something else I would like to throw out. Maybe you'll see some new added wrinkles on offense and defense, but specifically offense. I would, to be quite honest with you, I would put Skelton out at wide receiver on certain plays. Now, if you see two quarterbacks in the game, you know something is up, right? But to the point, he is so athletic. Get him some touches in some unorthodox ways. And will you see both quarterbacks for Southern University today? That is something else that is interesting. If you can imagine that. So, but if you're Jackson State, the defensive coordinator, you want to continue to be aggressive on defense, but you just have to quite honestly say, we are not going to let Skelton beat us with explosive plays, his athleticism. We feel comfortable. We feel confident in saying he has to beat us throwing the football. And if he does that, we'll have to live with that. And vice versa, the same thing if you're, Southern University. But you got to limit the big plays and explosive plays and, all the intangibles, the coaching staffs. You're playing at Jackson State. It's a home game for them, but technically, in normal circumstances, it's a home game, but you would have a huge amount of Southern University fans there. So it's going to be interesting. X's and O's. What do? If you get behind, can you overcome some adversity? And then, special teams. When you look at this ball game, the history of it, Southern has always gotten a couple of scores via a kick return or a punt return. Now, last time out, Shaquille Thomas had a kickoff return that was quite simply the momentum changer in the Southern Texas Southern football game. So, you got to give yourself a chance to win the ball game. No turnover.
I'm also looking at some big play from tight ends today. I think tight ends are going to play a huge factor in today's contest. Yeah, and Southern had Ethan Howard, 2 touchdowns, a freshman, the last time out. And if you look at a lot of football games, I know specifically on the NFL side, but even somewhat in on the collegiate level, the tight end has just been a lost figure. He's going to get one-on-one matchups most of the time, and we'll put that down as well. Tight ends involved in the offense. That's one of the better plays that Southern has accomplished during this season. They had a big one, a catch and run in the Alabama State game. Howard, 2 touchdown passes in the Texas Southern game. But Jackson State defense, to me, they're still going to be aggressive, and Southern cannot turn the ball over. And they've got to win the down and distance, Mark. I'm going to be brutally honest with you. I get nervous as heck when Southern's in third and long situation. So they've got to be really productive on first down. You want to be 3rd and 3 or 4 in most cases, but it's 3rd and 7, 8, 9. I cringe. I really do. But that's just me. I guess I look at the things that Southern hasn't done well, and so those things they've got to do better with. 3rd and long, and again, no turnovers. And the attitude must be on par. And hopefully the Jaguars have a great game plan for this ball game. So, with that being said, we'll take a first time out. When I come back, I'll visit with Coach Robert Valdez. He'll talk about this ball game, this rivalry, and then we'll get him to give us some analysis of what he thinks has to happen in this ball game today if Southern University is victorious. If you're a Jackson State fan listening, I'm sure you're pulling from Jackson State as well. This has been a colorful rivalry. The fan bases are alike. They mirror each other.
it's going to be on, the spring edition of the rivalry. And this is for the 66th time. Wow. When I come back, visit with Coach Robert Valdez. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show on the Open Mic Broadcast Network.
Drivers and bicyclists both have the right to be on the road and travel safely. And when we're on the road together, safety is a shared responsibility. State law requires drivers to maintain at least 3 feet of clearance when passing bicyclists. And bicyclists should always ride with the direction of traffic and follow all traffic signals. It's safer. It's courteous. It's the law. A message from the Regional Planning Commission Pedestrian and Bicycle Program.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show. What is that I hear? Is that the JSU's famous song, Get Ready, because Here I Come? Oh, boy. I don't have any eligibility left. None whatsoever. But just lead me out. On the field, when they come to A.W. Mumford Stadium, I'll lead the team out on the field and then go right to the tent and then look at my potential injuries. How about that? Welcome back to the Carlos Brown Show here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network. First guest today is a guy who I'm sure he looks like he still can play. Former Southern University football player, now the head football coach at St. James High School. Coach Robert Valdez joins me once again. Coach, good morning to you.
Good morning, guys. How y'all?
Oh, doing all right, sir. The rivalry, the matchup. Jackson State and Southern University. Coach, I'm sure you can relay some interesting stories about getting ready to play Jackson State. So we got you on today to kind of talk a little bit about that. And then if you can, right, Coach, give your analysis of today's football game between Southern and Jackson State, the spring edition.
Okay. Jackson, a lot of people don't know, the Bayou Classic has so much fanfare and recognition worldwide. But second to the Bayou Classic is that Jackson State game. And it's bitter. It's always intense. It's get after it. And it's what HBCU Black College football is all about. When you go to Jackson, Mississippi, Memorial Stadium, and then when they come to Southern and all that, how we put them all the way up, put the band all the way up in the corner somewhere where they can only be heard by Southern Lab, probably. But if you're a Jaguar, you know what I'm talking about. But no, it's going to be fun. It's going to be great. I think that that game brings out the best of all coaches, players, alumni, everybody, and especially right now it's highlighted because it's in the spring. It's the only show in town. It's you're not competing with anyone else for attention. So I'll be watching it from home, I'll be all good and excited about it.
Well, you mentioned about intensity in the emotion of this football game. How about Coach Richardson and the staff? Did you see a little extra in their conversation building up to the game? Because that's interesting. Coach Richardson has always been low-key to me, but
he was... one thing about Coach Richardson, if you played for Coach Richardson, he was just so meticulous in his preparation and just how how he was about his business. And so one thing that I've learned from him is never make the moment too big, because at that point, then the emotions and all those things kind of take a little bit out of the game. So he was always so even keeled. And I'll never forget the first time we played, and it wasn't Jackson, it was against Alabama State my freshman year. And Sean Wallace, which is probably one, legendary defensive back, outside linebacker, safety, looked at Coach Erickson, are you ready for the swag? And Coach Richmond calmly looked at him and said, is the swag ready for me? And that was his response. So that's how we played the game, and that's how, we kind of, we just need to control. The biggest thing with Coach Richardson was, you take care of yourself. You take care of what you're supposed to. You do your job, and then everybody does that. Everything will take care of itself. So in a game like this, whoever can channel the emotions early, will have early control of the game. And then, of course, once the first couple of punches blown and you get hit a little bit and all that, then your true identity will come out.
That is interesting, because if I'm hearing you right, you got to channel and control your emotions in an emotional game, because during warm-ups, the band sets the tone for the game, and you guys out there stretching and going through your pregame situations, and the bands are just cranking it up. How as a former player, and you talked about how Coach Richardson and the coaches were, but how did you channel that to kind of like, okay, not too high, but then of course it's a Jackson State game.
It's almost like dieting. It's almost impossible. Because I mean, you come out in pregame and there's 50,000 people. I mean, this is what we were talking about when we were in the glory days, and I think today is going to be that type of atmosphere. There's the bands playing, and of course, both bands have to make their entrance, and then you're warming up, and there's not enough oxygen in the air because it fills you. So therefore, I mean, it's hard for those guys, 18 to 22, whatever, to be able to, to contain that. It's just the coaches at that point. They have to look on the coaches and see that the coaches are calm, cool, and collective. But your fire, your intensity, your competitive nature will always, be on full adrenaline, and and then you just have to be able to channel that once the game starts. But I'm telling you, the energy is on 1,000. It is going to be on 1,000, and it's something that I tell people all the time. I say, we welcome all our new friends. We've been doing this in the SWAC. This is something that's not new. This is what makes Black college football and SWAC football one of the best. No matter what level, whatnot. But it's just the excitement and the atmosphere and the camaraderie and the friends, and know a lot of people from Jackson, know a lot of people from Southern, and it's just like a big old tailgate party / football game.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm visiting with Coach Robert Valdez, former Southern University offensive lineman, now the head football coach at St. James High School. Now, Coach, if you had to put together a game plan, I know you have to do on both sides, but offensively, let me ask you this. Skelton has kind of this season been up and down. How important is it for him to play well in this game? Because it seems to be the cliche, as Ladarius Skelton goes, so goes Southern University's offense. Start right there, and then I'm going to ask you about a game plan that you would put together for this football team today.
Well, I really think he's key. I think the thing with Skelton is, the biggest thing with Skelton, he's got to figure out which way he's going to lead. Is he going to lead as a positive leader, or is he going to just be somewhat detrimental? Because he's had to bring his A game, because the team feeds off of him. And I think that he's a great athlete, tremendous athlete, especially with the ball in his hands. of course, you would want him to be able to be a little bit more efficient in the passing game. But I think he needs to identify and step into that role that he's the face of the program. He leads the program, and if he goes in there and just takes care of his business like he can with all of his athletic ability and makes the plays that he's supposed to, it's going to be real tough on Jackson contain him.
Interesting. I made a point in the first part of the show, looking and going back to watching that Alabama State-Jackson State game. Again, you had Nettles, a young quarterback who has made tremendous strides in the spring season. But Alabama State was very successful in throwing and completing passes on first down. I like to look at balance on first down and then balance on offense. Is Southern capable of having their best passing game of the spring season today, and do they need to have it?
They need to be efficient with it. I think that the biggest thing is with a guy like Skelton is you're going to have to Southern. I don't know what the game plan is. I'm not in the office, but I think that you make Jackson have to play the entire 53 and a quarter sideline to sideline and 100 with Skelton, because you have to make them have to contain him, and you have to also kind of give him a little bit and let him do some things with his feet and let him be an athlete, be a ball carrier, to force the defense to give you some one-on-one matchups where you can take some opportunities on play action, RPOs and stuff like that. But you have to take their guessing game. What Alabama State did so well in that game against Jackson was they ran the ball well enough to make Jackson have to commit to the run, and then isolated several receivers on some one-on-ones, and they did a good job in the intermediate passing game. They have a lot of good athletes, and our linebackers run very well, so they kept the Jackson linebackers off key because they would have to have to figure out their pass drops or their run responsibilities. But I think that the key is, being able to utilize Skelton and allow Skelton to be able to be a run threat as well as a pass threat to make the defense have to declare.
That's a dual threat option. Quarterback. And as far as the run game for Southern University, Alabama State, as you alluded to, had success running the football. Southern is known now for running the football, so that would be, I would assume, a key for Southern University. On first down, Coach, what would be considered successful for Southern as far as the amount of yards they get on first down?
Well, I think that, in a game with so much emotions and stuff like that, you basically, your goal should be on first down to try to, get 5 yards. I think so you can extend the drive. You want to extend the drive. You want to drive the emotions out of the game by being able to, prolong your drives. You don't want to get into a shootout, because now at that point in time, you start getting, you start hoping for things to happen to go your way and whatnot. You want to be proficient, and you want to be able to drive the emotions out of the game by having sustained drives. So, simple, quick pass game, a simple play action, first down, of course, or just smash my football. And the Southern has one thing that's very, very key. They have a good group of tight ends that they utilize very well, very athletic, very big guys, which forces your defense to either go match big with big, or you're going to match your athletes and try to athlete for athletes. So I think that going to the game plan, I think that you're trying to kind of gain possessions and get positive yards on first downs, and then your second downs and your third downs is when you take your shots.
Visiting coach Robert Valdez, former offensive lineman for Southern University and head football coach at St. James High School. Script to flip defensively for Southern. Containing Jalen Jones. He's the same type of quarterback, but in my opinion, a better passer than Skelton. I think you must keep a spy on him if he's not efficient throwing the football, and whether he's doing it or not. You still, to me, you have to have a spy on him because he hurt Alabama State, particularly in the third quarter, running the football. And they had some design run plays for Jones, the quarterback draws.
I think when you look at, like I said, Coach Sanders and Jackson State, they feed off a lot of emotion. I think that with the key with Jackson is, and I think Alabama State did a good job of limiting the big plays. Jackson wants big plays. They look for big plays. Chunk plays, as we call them. Like I said, the quarterback does the ball very well, so the defense is going to have to do a good job of making sure they contain them and take away the edges when we talk about the outside off tackles. When he gets most of his efficiency running is when he does his quarterback powers, zone reads, and stuff like that. And then they have some big target receivers. And they too have some weapons. I just think that if you just can make them flip the script and make them have to drive the field, I don't know how consistent they can be, because they do seem to look like they want big plays.
Yeah. Well, Coach, that reminds me of back in the heyday. They would thrive on big plays. And if they had to, you're absolutely right. If they had to drive the length of the football field or any sustained drive, they basically, we used to call it feast or famine, boom or bust, offensively. And now, to a certain extent, sometimes I think Southern's offense that way with the big plays. But last but not least, special teams has always been very big in this series, and it could come down to special teams play. I think Southern has the edge in the kicking game, but you can lose a ball game on special teams and win it.
Right. That's where I believe that you really drive the intensity and the emotions on special teams, because that's kind of like, I'd like to see it as offense, defense, and special teams. Everybody did 33.5% or third. But on special teams, that's when you get your momentum changes, and that's when the team that's able to be aggressive on special teams and capitalize on flipping the field, making the team drive the field, or changing the momentum with a punt return or with a block punt or things like that, or being able to just channel the emotions down with a field goal. I think that's where the game within the game comes in at. I think that oftentimes most people get caught up in, the offense and the defense and whatnot. But in the game where you have so much high emotions, the special teams really can either uplift you or it can calm some things down. So I think that's going to be real interesting as to how that's played out today.
And last but not least, and I'm thinking about this and listening to Coach Sanders in his the Monday conference call, the SWAC Monday morning conference call, he said about Skelton. He talked about two players in particular. He said Skelton was a very good runner, per se. Then he talked about Jordan Lewis. He can get after people. Jordan Lewis in the pass rush. He's got to be careful though, because sometimes you can take yourself out of the play. You're rushing in so forth. But how important is Jordan Lewis at one end spot going up against the offensive line of Jackson State?
You always have to beware of the praises. When you read the Clippers, beware of the praises. It's always a setup. Coaches quotes and all that, setups and all that. So therefore, Jordan's got to be careful, because they do such a good job with their quarterback runs. They do such a good job with their screen games and things like that. That if you start thinking that the coaches give you high praise and you're going to go out there and make plays and all that, you'll really play yourself out of position. So you have to be careful with that. I just think that he's got to understand how to be able to contain the line of scrimmage, and then identify the blocking, and then make the plays accordingly. I mean, and down and distance will sometimes determine, according to the scouting report, how aggressive you can be. I think that when you get a little bit, the kids start playing the game from a heads-up point of view, understand the down and distance situation, field position, and things of that nature, that allow them to be able to play a better game. And I think Jordan has to be careful with all the praise and all that because it could be a setup.
Well, Coach, you've set it up for us here on today's show, and it gives me some more things to be, watching for at the game. And, emotion is fine. We talked about the pageantry and the intensity, but it basically is going to come down to, as always, game plan, X's and O's, who can execute and who doesn't execute.
Well, I think both Jackson and Southern have tremendous athletes on the field. I think this is going to be, like I said, when you look at both of these rosters, and, of course, you look at Coach Sanders, one of the kind of guys and energy he's bringing over there, and Southern has been very, very dominant in the SWAC. So there's going to be a lot of fields. It's going to be a chess match. It's going to be how you use your guys, and then who can contain their emotions and be able to play the full game at a high efficient. And then this one may be who has enough gas left in the tank in the fourth quarter. So, which team is in better shape to be able to be efficient like that. So it's going to be fun. I mean, I'll tell you what, for the fans, this is exciting. It's a chance to get back to some normalcy and get back to the game and all those things and whatnot. So just excited, with COVID and everything that's going on, just really glad to be at this point, though.
Yeah, and myself, I got to make sure I calm down as well. I've said in the past that losing this ball game or going on a hunger strike for 30, 40 days, not going to do that anymore. But you get the point. It's intense, and I think the day will prove to be the same. It will be intense. Coach, enjoy the game, 4 p.m. on ESPN, and we appreciate the time as always.
Hey, guys, stay safe, man. Happy Easter.
Same to you, sir. All right. That was Coach Robert Valdez, former Southern University offensive lineman, now head football coach at St. James High School. Boy, the powerhouse down in Vacherie, Louisiana. Going to take a quick time out. When I come back, I'm going to visit with Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show on the Open Mic Broadcast Network.
Drivers and bicyclists both have the right to be on the road and travel safely. And when we're on the road together, safety is a shared responsibility. State law requires drivers to maintain at least 3 feet of clearance when passing bicyclists. And bicyclists should always ride with the direction of traffic and follow all traffic signals. It's safer. It's courteous. It's the law. A message from the Regional Planning Commission Pedestrian and Bicycle Program.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the next 7 years of bigger and bigger enrollments, America's grade schools will need nearly 250,000 extra teachers besides those to fill normal vacancies. This great need, plus the growing public interest in education and improvements in schools, make elementary school teaching a more rewarding career than ever, a career that high school and college students should certainly consider. Education holds America's future, perhaps your future.
The birth of legends are storied in this conference. We must never forget our rich history. We now turn our gaze to the future. The new legends will emerge. New heroes to arise. The Southwestern Athletic Conference. Be our history.
Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union has 13 different locations to better serve you. Locations in Rosenberg, Missouri City, Katy, College Station, Bryan, Brenham, and Waller, Texas. For more information, you can contact them on their toll-free number, 855-391-2149. Or you can send an email to information@bvscu.org.
Serving the community through faith and athletics. The Open Mic Broadcast Network.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network. Second guest of today's show, Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network, joining us live via the phones from Lorman, Mississippi. Charles, good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing fine and beautiful, and I mean it's been some beautiful weather in Baton Rouge, but from what I can see, all through the Deep South. It's been gorgeous.
Yeah, yesterday was a terrific day. It was a little windy, a little nip in the air, had a little frost, but a few clouds today. Sun is out today. We got a good stretch of weather coming up, and we definitely need it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Well, Charles, the game of the week. I want to talk to you about your thoughts on today's ball game, Southern University and Jackson State, the game of the week, and football.
Well, this is, to me, this is a game of adjustments. Both teams were off last week, and we'll see what type of adjustments, especially on Jackson State's side, what adjustments they will make. Because 2 weeks ago against Bama State, just to be quite honest, and I think a lot of people would agree, and probably some Jacksonians would agree, they got exposed, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I picked Jackson State to beat Bama State only because I just didn't think Alabama State, based on their game against Southern, had the offensive punch to be able to score over 30 points. But they did, and you have to credit Ezra Gray and that offense for making the adjustments. Jackson State's defense did make the adjustment. They were gashed. There's no question about that. And if I'm a JSU fan, I'm wondering, are you going to clean up this defense going into this week against a Southern team that, as we know, can score. Pretty balanced against Texas Southern. One of the scoring drives was, strictly run only. And we talked about that, Carlos. You like balance, but I think Southern needs to run the football a little more than they did against TSU. And we'll see if Jackson State can stop that. Because if they don't, Southern's going to gash them again, and Southern will win the game. So I think, for Jackson State, are they going to clean up the defense? Are they going to move the pocket offensively? Because they blitzed, talking about Bama State, they blitzed Jalen Jones and made him very average. They're going to move the pocket a little bit as an adjustment. We'll see. I think for Southern, they got to be careful with Jackson State special teams because they can make some things happen on punt and kickoff returns. And I think special teams will be a factor. So I think it'll be a game of adjustments in terms of Southern, sticking with it, and Jackson State trying to make the adjustment, especially on the defensive side of the ball and offensively as we get down the stretch of the season.
Well, Charles, I'm concerned. What if? And I really believe Jackson State will put 7-8 in the box and say, well, okay, we're not going to let you gash us. Easier said than done, according to you. If that happens, and they basically say, okay, Skelton, we'll live with this decision. We don't believe you can beat us throwing the football and completing passes consistently in this game. What happens then? Could Southern make the adjustment? Could they roll Skelton out on some bootlegs and play action? I've heard all of that. Can Southern consistently, if they're not able to be successful running? Now, if they are, Charles, okay, makes it a much better situation. But let's say they put 8 in the box, and they say we're going to live and die by Skelton beating us with his arm and accuracy. What do you see happening then?
I think if that's the case, and if Skelton can make the intermediate throws and maybe take some shots down the field to stretch the defense, I think Southern will be fine. But if Jackson State does do that and Skelton can't hit his reads, his progressions, and check downs, then Southern's in trouble. Because that's probably what Jackson State's going to do because, of course, they've got film and they know that Skelton at times struggles throwing the football and stretching the football down the field. And if he can't do that, and it's going to be a mental challenge, too, in terms of when things don't work, is Skelton going to, get outside of himself and start, doing things that's beyond him instead of having thick skin and playing through it all, then Southern's in trouble. And then you're going to go with this 2-quarterback system, as Dawson Odoms has said, and we all know what happens with that. So if Jackson State does that and if Skelton can't hit the hot reads and if he can't hit those deep balls or intermediate shots, then Southern's in trouble. But I do think that they're going to try to run the football, settle things down early like Bama State did. And you got to give Bama State's quarterback credit for a lot of poise of what they did with Jackson State and just, hitting his reads and hitting his progressions. And I think that loosened things up. So I think the key is going to be Skelton and how he handles it, especially early in the game, because if he can settle in and if the coaches can give him a package to settle him in and get that running game going and get Jackson State's defense on skates, I do think Southern will control the clock and control the game. If not, it could be some trouble for Southern University.
Speaking with Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network, Derek, a listener, says he would, if he was Southern on defense, would do the same thing. Put eight in the box against Jackson State and force Jones to beat you throwing it. Now,
I agree with that as well. I do agree with that.
I think Jones has shown to be a better passer at this point. At least, more accurate and just a better passer than Skelton.
I would agree with that as well. I think just the experience and being on that next level, I do think that Jalen Jones is probably a little bit more poised in the pocket. Mm-hmm. But, Jackson State's going to have to pick up that corner blitz because they didn't do it against Bama State 2 weeks ago. And, Jackson State, I'm sure they'll probably try to move the pocket a little bit, some draws and, make the defense overcommit. And then you got some stuff going there. But I do think this is going to be a game in which, for Jackson State, will they make the corrections? And for Southern, I mean, they're still halfway in the hunt. And this is one of those games in which you're going to see which team can make the adjustments, as we get ready for the stretch run.
Jordan Lewis, asked our previous guest, Coach Sanders mentioned him by name about how successful he is as far as pass rush. Is that a one-on-one matchup? And I say one-on-one, but Jordan Lewis against that left tackle, left guard for Jackson State. Is that a matchup that you're going to be interested in seeing as part of game planning?
Yeah, it is. I'm anxious to see the edges, to see how that adjustment is made. I think, and one thing that we don't talk about a lot, you do probably more so than most. You love the trenches, and you always talk about those matchups in the trenches. I think it's going to be one of those type of games in which whichever team can deal with that and is successful will win the game. Because clearly Jackson State lost the trenches 2 weeks ago. Southern was able to run the football 2 weeks ago, and Southern's defense was able to make some plays 2 weeks ago. So I do think the trenches will be one of the big parts of this game. I mean, for the first time in a while, this Jackson State Southern game in football, I think, right, even though it's spring 2021, it means something in terms of just energy. You see a lot of the media coverage that's going to be a part of this game. It's going to be on national television. So I think that there's going to be a lot of eyes watching this game. I'll get a chance to look at some of it, and I'm anxious to see, which team can make the adjustment. I have the Jaguars winning the game. I've said this from day one. I think Southern is still the best team in the West, even though if you talk to Pine Bluff fans, they'll disagree. And, yeah, they got Southern that one game. But I do think that Southern will prevail. I do think Southern is the better team right now at this point in time, and I do expect Southern to win the game.
Now, Elwin, and we appreciate him listening in, he chimed in, both teams will be gambling to go 8 in the box. He says, especially Southern. He says, our secondary can't handle that. Well, if you look at Alabama State, and then if you look at Southern's defense over the last couple of seasons, it's been kind of a bend but don't break. And defensively, they cannot put themselves in a position to give up big explosive plays. Sometimes you're going to have to get pressure up front. You're going to have to mix up your defensive coverages. Sometimes you got to blitz and come up. And to me, and maybe I'm being a bit too critical here, but my opinion, Southern tends to sit, read, and react. Sometimes you just got to react. And if you sit back, and Jackson State has some tremendous size at the wideouts. And so you got to help those DBs out. You know, if you can get a push, you can get a pass rush going. And mind you, you have to watch Jones, Charles. He can beat you with his legs. So that's why I said early on, you're going to have to put a spy on him when he gets out on the flank, and you've got to be able to tackle and wrap him up. He's a big guy. So I understand what everyone's saying, but at some point, you just going to have to mix it up, and sometimes you just got to flat come after him. You can't just sit back and let him beat you running the football and then throwing underneath an intermediate pass rush.
Yeah, and the one thing that Southern tried to do against Alcorn over years, you know, if you blitz, you got to get home. When you got a quarterback like Felix Harper, Noah Johnson, if you don't get home, then you're leaving yourself exposed. You overcommit, gaps are there. So if Southern's going to do that, if Southern's going to come after Jalen Jones, they're going to have to get home. And that's something that Bama State was able to do just enough of to throw that offense a little bit out of sync. And I think Southern's going to have to do that again this week.
Derek, we appreciate you chiming in. Who can put the other team in the most 3rd and 6+ yards will win? Got to win first downs. Keep them 3rd and long. I agree 150%. And Charles, you know, I cringe a lot of times when it's 3rd and long on Southern's on offense. They're better when they're in 3rd and short. So they've got to win the down and distance. And then on defense, on 3rd down, you got to get off the field. You got to get off the field. So as much pressure as you can, but mind it. Be mindful that you have to spy Jones, in my humble opinion.
Yep. I mean, I think for Southern offensively, they struggle, as you mentioned, when they're behind the chains. Mm-hmm. Jackson State, I think, has a few more weapons to be able to manage a 3rd and 6. Southern struggles with a 3rd and 6. And, you know, I'm pulling for the Jaguars. You know, Alcorn's not playing in the spring. I think Southern's got it going. And but the one thing I do notice in watching all these Alcorn Southern games, when it's 3rd and 8, when it's 2nd and 15, that's just not Southern football offensively. They struggle with that. And I think, you know, they're exactly right. You know, Southern's going to have to make it manageable, you know, stay ahead of the chains. But when you're behind the chains, Southern really struggles.
Now, Charles, I see you. I knew you had to get that in there with Southern and Alcorn, huh? That'll be like me mentioning the 38-0 victory over Prairie View. That was so long ago. Who cares? Dr. Prince loves that, huh?
They got Dr. Prince falling out of his chair right there.
Well, you know, and that's I did a segment on She Say Sports with Sonia Stamps. Tremendous podcast. She has really done a great job. And, you know, we were talking about some of the memorable games in the Southern Jackson State, along with B.J. Jones and Charles Disher. It was brought up the 1999 SWAC championship in Birmingham, then the SWAC championship in Houston. But in 2010, you remember it was like 4 or 5 scores in the last 3 minutes of the ball game, and Southern lost basically with no time left on the clock. And I would like to forget that one, Charles.
Yeah.
And
well,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, I didn't get a chance to actually attend. Well, I did one Jackson State Southern game in Jackson, and we just happened to have like a 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock game here. And I said I was going to make it up there, try to get there for the game. It was like a 7 o'clock kickoff. And when I tell you I was there like 5 o'clock, like 2 hours, I just happened to get up there early. And when I tell you that there was probably 50,000 people in the stadium, like 2 hours before the game, it was a scene I never saw before. I mean, just the Jaguar Nation was there. Folks were there early just to get a good seat. And I hope we get back to that at some point in time because, you know, when those two teams are rolling, you know, whether it's Memorial with 35 or 40 or, you know, a Mumford or Memorial, we got 60 or 40, whatever it is, it's a terrific scene.
It is a terrific scene. I remember people parking and couldn't find their cars afterwards, and they thought maybe they got towed. Well, no, they were so under the influence, having a good time, they had literally forgot where their vehicle was.
Yeah.
You have fans sitting in the aisles. I told the story about coming to that game for the first time, and man, I thought it was a fire had broken out within blocks of the stadium. You know, I had never been to that game before in Jackson. And, you know, you're coming down the hill, and, man, the traffic is just a standstill, and then you just see what a beautiful scene. You see African-American people everywhere, and they're just enjoying themselves. And I happened to be standing one year, when Southern football bus came through, you know, with the police escort, and that bus was literally rocking. And I was like, Southern's fired up. And they came out and won the ball game. But in a robbery, Charles, you win some, you lose some, and Southern's on hadn't lost to Jack State since 2013.
Yep.
That's a good streak, not like the other streak, huh? Who wants that streak?
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Just interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was the princess saying? Call the name out. They know who I'm talking about. It's Alcorn State. But we're not going to talk about that rivalry again. Well, actually, Prairie View plays Southern tougher at AEW Mumford than at home. Go figure. But all will have their time to shine. Last but not least, Charles, some information about the SWAC baseball tournament not going to be in Jackson this year.
Well, it's looking pretty tough, right? Yeah. Now, from what I was told, that there was a meeting with some of the baseball coaches in Jackson at Smith-Will Stadium, and there are some concerns about the facility. And there's a possibility, it's not 100%, but there's a possibility the tournament might not be in Jackson this year. So in case things don't get worked out until the upgrades and improvements are made, they're going to probably look at some other options. I understand Huntsville, Alabama is an option, and I was told that Huntsville is a definite option because that stadium, they have a minor league team up there. That stadium's available the week they were playing the baseball tournament. I also understand that Biloxi is a possibility as well. I understand New Orleans, even though we've left New Orleans, is kind of on the outside looking in. Personally, Charles Edmonds' opinion, I think New Orleans is fine, but I understand from the coach's perspective, logistically it's tough to get to and from in New Orleans. So it's not official, but some upgrades are going to have to be made quickly because the baseball tournament starts in 6 weeks. And unless those improvements are made, the tournament won't be in Jackson. It's not 100%, but it's just some concerns right now.
Yeah, unofficial. And what about Frisco, Texas? I think there is a movement to say, hey, give them tremendous consideration.
Yeah, I didn't hear Frisco. I didn't hear it from our folks, but you know, I have heard that that's a pretty good facility there to play. I think you're trying to find a central location, and Jackson did fit that bill because it's centrally located for the Texas teams and Alabama teams. Frisco is kind of a stretch for the Alabama teams in terms of travel. You know, it's a long bus ride, so I'm not certain about that end of it. Even though if you go to Huntsville, it's still a stretch for the Texas teams. Mm-hmm. You know, going up to Huntsville. And they're not flying up there, I don't think. So it's still yet to be determined. It's still up in the air, but some concerns right now about Jackson. I hope it's Jackson because it's 40 minutes from my house. I can make it happen there, but you know that's neither here nor there.
At least you're admitting to being for selfish reasons. Hey, 40 minutes from the house. Hey, I'll take it, but it's just, I have no dog in the fight. So wherever it goes, I'll be there. But right now, there's some concerns. And look, the tournament was at Smith-Will Stadium before, and they did do some upgrades way back when. They have turf there, and it's pretty decent once everything is in place. But right now, everything is not in place. So
we'll see over the next week to 10 days. I think we'll hear about something then.
Yeah, I'm just thinking maybe the recent flooding problem in Jackson helped lead to the stadium not, making the mark as far as, the facility-wise. But I know it flooded pretty heavily in that area. At least that's what I was told. So, Jackson, if you're listening, I'm sure that had something to do with it. But, hey, centrally located, you're right. But in that case, this whole season, this whole year of a pandemic, nothing's been normal. So somebody will have to bite the bullet, even if it's in, Huntsville, as you stated. Texas schools have a valid point about traveling, but if you want to compete for a tournament championship, I think you'll put that behind you, at least the players' situation. The director of athletics, and as far as money-wise, I guess that does make a difference.
I also heard, Carlos, that there is a little bit of chatter about bringing the tournament maybe back on campus, on one of our campuses. There's some chatter there, and of course, you know where I stand on that. And I'm going to still stand by where I think the baseball tournament was, and I think still should have been there at Heinz Field. So there is some chatter about that. Some of the, there's a couple of places that some coaches have talked about. But for me, Heinz Field was the best place, and I still think was the best place to have the tournament, the best atmosphere, the chicken wings and the snowballs and all that. I mean, you couldn't beat that.
I knew you were going to say that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And of course, when the home team, when that team, Southern University, is doing well, it just adds to it. So, I mean, I think the outside odds are the SWAC campus right now is probably not an option, but it's something that may be on the table down the road. But right now, hopefully things can get worked out in Jackson where they can do the improvements, and the tournament will be at Smith Wills. We'll see. We got about 6 weeks. Yeah.
Well, I have some contact information on some of the coaches in the league. Maybe I'll send a text message to Coach Omar and see where he stands. I don't know, maybe that's not a good idea. but anyway, appreciate the time. Have a great broadcast today, and continue to be safe.
Go Jags! Defense, Jags, defense. Let's go.
Yeah, got to have a lot of defense. Defense, Jags, defense. A lot of defense.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I know Dr. Prince is like, will he shut up? If not, I'm going to be an angry man. An angry man for a whole week. See, this is not just a regular loss if it happens. If you win, you gloat for 365 days. If you lose, I'm an angry black man for a week and a half. Okay, let's make it 2.
At least.
Yeah. Okay, Charles. Have a good one. We'll talk again next week.
All right, appreciate it. Y'all be safe.
All right, you too. That was Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network. Going to take a quick time out. When I come back, Coach Petaway, get his thoughts on the Final Four. Can Gonzaga win 2 more games and go undefeated during the season? Wow. Baylor and Houston. UCLA, Dr. Prince, 11th seed. I remember a basketball team from this state made it to the Final Four as 11th seed before. The miracle 11th seed. Can UCLA pull it out? Wow. That's going to be tough. We'll see what Coach Petaway has to say about the Final Four. And then in the women's game, it's set. And the Arizona women's basketball coach, her father, played at Southern University as a football player and a baseball player. When this Final Four is over, I'm going to contact her, and I want her on this show and to talk about her father. So I'll do my research on the Southernite. And he passed away recently. Oh, he's passed away. But you always find throughout this conference, whether it's Prairie View, Grambling, we're all connected in one way or another. and even those who have gone on, who were in this conference, they go on to do better things. Dr. Prince, Coach Wilson, head women's basketball coach now at Southern Methodist University.
Yes, sir.
Wow, she was tough. She was fiery.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I liked her.
I did too.
And got Prairie View into the tournament. What? The whole time she was at Prairie View as the head coach?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. She took care of business.
Took Coach Pugh now. Ooh.
Coach Pugh gonna be all right. She had to hit the reset button.
Oh, you were quick to cover. Look, you were in the red zone defense on that one.
I'm not covering anything. She's gonna be all right. She's gonna be all right.
You all right?
Yeah, she all right. She all right.
Sound like you got a little feisty there. I like Coach Pugh. I wouldn't dare say her seat is getting warm.
No, you can't have a repeat performance. It'll definitely turn beet red if she have a repeat performance. But I think she's gonna be all right. She's gonna be all right.
On that note, take a time out. Coach Pettaway's up next. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show on the Open Mic Broadcast Network.
Have sports, we'll travel. The Open Mic Broadcast Network serving student athletes from Little League, high school, and collegiate coverage right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network. From coast to coast, from dusk till dawn. You can catch all student athletic action right here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network, the station designed with you in mind. Serving the community through faith and athletics, the Open Mic Broadcast Network, the voice of student athletics.
Hello, this is Alonzo Hardy Jr., the president of the SWAC Alumni Association. The SWAC Alumni Association is an organization founded on December 10, 1999, at the Sheraton Hotel in Birmingham, Alabama. Its mission is to serve as a rallying ground for individuals who have made the Southwestern Athletic Conference the illustrious conference that it is today. Its membership is open to former student athletes who played in the conference in any sport, as well as to coaches, athletic administrators, staff members, game officials, and fans. Annually, the association holds a Legends Awards and Roast Banquet or luncheon where it honors individuals with Lifetime Achievement Awards, a Chuck Prophet Wagon Master Award, and occasionally a Distinguished Service Award. Proceeds from that event help to finance degree completion scholarships for student athletes who have exhausted their playing eligibility at SWAC universities, but who may still need an extra semester or two to complete their college studies. For more information on the SWAC Alumni Association or to get information on becoming a member, you can send correspondence to SWAC Alumni Association, 875 Miller Creek Lane, Newport News, Virginia, 23602. The email address is swacalumuniassociation@yahoo.com.
Oh, I love that. I got the umbrella here in the Studio A in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Do what you want to. I tell you what, if it's not a win today, that umbrella will be used as a weapon. Oh, boy. Coach Pettaway, good morning.
Yes, sir.
You remember that song, right?
Oh, yeah. I remember that beat. Yep, I knew when you heard that you were in for a fight.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big one today. The spring edition, Southern and Jackson State in football on ESPN, 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. Coach Pettaway, are you going to be able to watch it?
Yeah, I'm going to have that on along with the Final Four. So I'll be multitasking. I like watching SWAC football. or shall I say this year, the Jackson State show. But I'm saying that because, they've had Jackson State on more than anybody, and if you look at the future schedule for this year, they're still coming on. So I think the Deion Sanders effect has really taken hold. But I'm looking forward to the game today, and I get confused. I thought Southern's rival was Grambling, but I guess this is a mini rivalry or something, Jackson State. But anytime that you're dealing with a rivalry, anything can happen. And I know both teams will be jacked up and ready to play. So I'm hoping to see some great football for the spring. But I do know this now, after watching Southern against Alabama State and then watching them earlier, they're up and down. So you're not going to know how this game is going to go. And, Deion is going to have them kids pumped up after they were brought back down to earth. So it's going to be a good game. I'm sorry, Coach Prime.
Oh, well, I say Coach Sanders, but that's a long story, and I even had some discussions about that. But you are a traditionalist, wouldn't you say that?
Yes.
Coach Petaway?
Yes.
Yeah, and the only reason I'm bringing it up is because I have had some animated discussions when I made the statement about Jackson State and Southern, and you mentioned Southern and Grambling State. That rivalry, it's like, when you go visit your cousins and at Thanksgiving or Christmas and you have a dinner and then you're young at that time, much younger, and you want to go out and play some sports and out in the yard you're playing, you want to beat your cousins, right?
Right.
You really want to beat them. And Grambling, it's family. But Jackson State is just a total different beast. The fan bases are just alike, cocky and arrogant.
I agree.
What? There's that voice again. What he said, hallelujah. Yeah, cocky and arrogant. Yeah.
Yep.
That is true. So it's intense. It's a different type of rivalry. And some of the traditionalists took me to task years ago on local radio, saying, let me tell you something, young whippersnapper.
Young buck. Yep.
Yeah, the Grambling State and Southern game, that is the rivalry, not
Correct.
the Jackson State. But, I stood my ground, and as I was dunking from uppercuts. But it's just a different type of intensity and emotional. So
I think the proximity is what makes those has made that into a rivalry. You all aren't that far apart. So Jackson State, and both schools have great traditions. I think that's the biggest thing. But with Grambling being your in-state rival, see, that's just like here with us, Alabama State. And in those type games, as a coach, you really don't have much to say. You don't have to really get your players up for these type games because they motivate themselves a lot of times. I think we as coaches, a lot of times in a rival game, we have to settle our kids down a lot of times because a prime example was one year we were in Montgomery to play at Bama State, and I know I had a great team. And Bama State came out playing with all that fire and energy, and I had to call a timeout before the game was even 4 minutes old. And my kids, they had that deer in the headlight look. I'm in the middle of my huddle, and they're looking straight through me. They're just bugged out. And so I took a water bottle with that cold water, and I just spurted all 5 of the players. I let that cold water. No, I'm serious. I did. I put it in their chest. The cold water brought them back down. I said, "Fellas, settle down, man. Settle down. We play better than this." And then I think we ended up winning the game by like 12 or 14 because we took off from there. All it takes is a lot of times in emotional games, the team that settles down first, they're the ones that are going to come out on top. Because you got all that nervous energy at the beginning of the game. And then you lose focus of what you're supposed to do because you're trying so hard. And my kids were trying too hard. And they settled down. And then when we get together now, we still laugh at that. Because that group of kids, I think that was with Goodman, and in his 4 years, he never lost to Bama State. He never lost to Alabama State. So the rival games are big. Games are big.
Great point. Coach Valdez talked about that too. You know, emotion goes only so far, and really, if you don't channel it and control it,
yeah. If you don't control you, it will wreck your game plan.
Yep. And to that point, Coach, this is why again I'm back on Skelton, the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
He went against Arkansas Pine Bluff. He's from Pine Bluff. And I'm sure they were talking a lot of stuff to him and stuff, but you can't lose control.
Yep.
And once you're known as a player that can easily be manipulated as far as emotionally, teams are going to try it again. And this would, don't be surprised that I know, don't be surprised. I know Jackson State's going to be talking trash. And, you know, last year, we forget, almost a scuffle before the game.
Right.
So,
As coaches, we look for that, too, because if I know in basketball you got a very emotional player on that team, we going after him. We're going to see if we can get his emotions up. To get him out of the game.
You used to play for the Celtics. They were great for that.
Yep.
Wow. And speaking of basketball, on the women's side, they're already in the Final Four.
No, they're in the championship.
Yeah. And South Carolina, wow.
But it's a great game. Those are two great games. Yep.
Yeah, two good looks, and sometimes that's the way the ball doesn't bounce in your favor. And then Arizona, nobody gave them a chance.
But look, McDonald gave themselves. She gave her team a chance.
Yeah.
She knew. McDonald knew that, man. She was terrific. That young lady, man, did an outstanding job. She took control of that game, and she's the reason why Connecticut is sitting at home. You know, Coach Ari Memino is a great guy. I mean, but when you look at his record in the semifinals, man, his record really goes down the drain in the semifinals now. He's undefeated in the championship game. But if you can get him in the semifinals, you can send him home. That's the fourth year in a row that they've lost in the semifinals. But then some teams are going to say they have never made it to the semifinals, and they've lost four years in a row.
Oh, that's interesting. Wow, boy, I'm thinking about getting to the championship game and losing.
Yep.
You know, people get on me about, we could not even be there.
Yeah.
It's about getting there and then breaking through. That's all.
Right. That's the truth. And now Stanford has a big job ahead of them because during the regular season they beat Arizona twice. So now you're facing a team for the third time. And Arizona, I guarantee you, they're playing a lot better now than they did during the regular season. And if McDonald can stay on the role that she's on, I think that they're going to have a chance. I understand that the two previous games, Stanford won by double digits. I just think Arizona's playing a lot better offensively and defensively than earlier in the season. So I'm looking forward to a great game on tomorrow for them. And then all that's going to do is just set the stage for the men's game, which are today.
This is Coach Van Pettaway here on the Coles Brown Show. Now, got a question, and I think you can answer it better than me. What do you think about, and thanks, Derek, for this, what do you think about the refereeing during the Final Four? How do you coach your team through it, or do you think it was adequate?
Well, see, with officials now, some of the calls are subjective, so that's going to be in it, because I can tell you this. Going down the stretch in the women's game, Connecticut got a couple bad calls, but Connecticut also got the grace of good calls to get to the Final Four. Because you know, in the game prior, I don't care what officiating clinic you in, that was a foul that Connecticut committed against Baylor on that last play of the game, where they had two players to defend that last shot. That young lady was fouled twice, and the whistle was not blown. But they also went back and showed you three other plays where it was clear that Connecticut was fouled, and they didn't get a call. So some people say it balances out. You just got to have your team ready to play. You cannot allow your team to allow the officiating to get into their minds. If that happens, you're through.
Well,
so you have to constantly keep your team focused on the task at hand. Forget about the officiating. We're gonna play against them too, along with those other 5 people.
Yeah, I understand your point. And see, I would fail in that as a basketball coach, which I'm not, because I would constantly go after the official that's on the baseline. To me, he just, coach, and I know you're going to say I'm wrong for this, but I liked it better when there's only 2 officials. You know, Tom and that baseline referee, he always, what I've seen, you know, he always defers to, he can't see the call, and he's right there, and then I don't know.
But see, on the baseline, a lot of times, because in the men's game, the bodies are so big, you can get blocked out. You can get blocked out. And then the other thing that the public does not know, some of the public does not know, in officiating, there are certain areas on the floor that you're responsible for calling.
Like a zone defense.
You're not supposed to cross over into another official's area.
And
I think that's the way they teach it.
Okay.
It does happen sometimes, and the best thing that this is what they really like officials to do. If you're not sure, talk about it. Because if I see a call in your area and you call me over, I'll let you know. And I think they start the conversation out by saying, "What did you see?" Now, when I tell you what I saw, that could influence your call. And to me, that's the best way to do it. 2 sets of eyes versus 1.
Okay.
And then now you go with it.
Well, I guess I just don't like that referee at that position.
Mm-hmm.
I'll admit that. Coach Jackson asked Coach what he thinks of 3 of the 5 SWAC men's first team members being in the transfer portal.
Oh man, don't bring up that portal now. I'm so disappointed in this doggone portal. I have talked about this already, and I'll go again. Like A&M has 3 players, Alcorn has 4, Grambling has 6, Jackson State has 2, Mississippi Valley has 3, Prairie View has 2, and I've been told now that Prairie View may even have a 3rd one, but that has not been confirmed yet. Texas Southern has. Yep. Oh, it has been confirmed. Yep. Well, we'll see. I think the portal is bad for the game. What it really does, it gives the kids an out. See, we're always looking for an out. And I think by the NC2A allowing these kids to transfer without sitting out, it gives them an out so that when they face adversity, instead of fighting through the adversity and maturing and becoming stronger, they said, no, I don't need this adversity. I'm going to change. I'm going somewhere else. To me, that's not right. If you're not being mistreated in the program, I don't think you should be allowed to transfer like that. I mean, when you look at what Prairie View has done over the last 3, who wouldn't want to be on the championship team? And I don't know all the circumstances behind why the players want to leave Prairie View, but I do know this from what I have seen and what I have been around Byron Smith. And by the way, congratulations, he was an award winner, but now he didn't get the award that I wanted him to get. I voted for him as the Ben Joe Award winner. He got the Hugh Durham Award. I wanted him to represent Ben Joe. So I threw my ballot for him in that direction. But this is the way I see this. The College Insider, they're one of the only people that's going out recognizing these coaches on all levels. So my hat's off to College Insider once again because Dr. Prince, this is Joe Dwyer's doing again. This is him. This is what he does. And he's been doing it for years without people even knowing it. He's the guy that's behind these postseason awards for these different coaches, especially on the HBCU level. Yeah. But getting back to great recognition. But getting back to the transfer portal, I think it's bad for the game. And it's not just the HBCUs. I think last week it was 66 guys from between the MEAC and the SWAC that were in the portal. That's a lot of people.
Wow.
Because now if you're in the portal, that means that you're looking for another home. Is that home really there? See, some of these guys, they know that they got another place to go to. Some of them don't. They're not going to get any better. They're not going to do any better than where they are. And in some cases, there are some coaches in this country right now that they got seniors, and you got this thing whether or not you can bring them back. Some of the coaches don't need those seniors back in their program for various reasons. They could have been a cancer. They may not have the right mentality for your program at this time. So in that case, the transfer portal works. But when you got young talent that you're trying to build a program, that's bad, man. That is bad. And I don't like that.
Yeah, and coaches, it's been good and bad. You know,
right?
You receive some transfers in, but then now you're starting to see the exodus a lot. And let me just say this: with the Prairie View situation, don't know the particulars, but consistency,
right?
That program and they have been getting it done. That's just amazing. And I talked about it before. You know, maybe in some cases, someone was raised by their grandmother, and they're not doing well. They want to get back close to home. I can see that.
I can go with that. Yes.
Yeah. A mother, a father, same thing. You know, maybe have an illness that's not looking good for them. I can see that. But to your point, though, old school would say, you stick it out. You work hard and you get better.
Right.
And, team is that. It's a we in the program. So
and at Prairie View, I want to say this. Byron Smith is one of the top coaches, not only in the SWAC, in the country.
Yeah.
This guy pours his heart out into the game of basketball and to his players. I'm a Byron Smith fan because I had the pleasure of doing his first game as a head coach. Mm-hmm. And this guy, what he does, and then I also, before he became head coach, I watched him in practice when he was Coach Rim's assistant. His work ethic, how he related to the kids. This guy checks all the boxes. And for me, I really think that this guy has a future in basketball, and I think it's going to be beyond Prairie View. So I don't understand why these young men wouldn't want to come play for a guy who cares about them, who puts academics and all the other things first, and then who also has a grasp. He knows his profession. And so I'm just disappointed, even though I don't know all the particulars. I don't understand, let me just say it that way, why kids would want to leave that program. Because he's proven that they can win. And I thought when in recruiting, a lot of times the kids look for an opportunity to play. So if you get the playing time, you're looking for an opportunity to win. You're winning because you won 3 straight championships. So this is very perplexing to me.
And Prairie View still will be my early on favorite the next basketball season because of what he's built there. And again, defense and consistency. That's what you think about.
Right, and then that's what you got in today's Final Four, like in these matchups today. Now, UCLA has, I don't think anyone had UCLA going to the Final Four. If they do, I think they did their bracket after the tournament started. But no one had UCLA, but they're there. They're the darlings. And I think one of the things that has helped them, if you look at all these 4 teams, is guard play. Mm-hmm. It's guard play which has helped these teams get there. In UCLA's case, they got 5 people in double digits. 5. And guess what? The majority of them are guards. You got Ju Zhang at 15 that leads them in scoring. You got Smith and Jaquez at 12 apiece. Then you got Bernard and Campbell. But now they're going up against Gonzaga.
Yes, sir.
Now that's the team that can really play. Now they're led by 2 forwards, Tim and Kispert, 19, 18 respectively. But the engine that makes them go is the guards, Suggs. Freshman, top freshman, probably going to be a first draft pick in the lottery. He's at 14 points a game. He's the engine that drives Gonzaga. Gonzaga is a very deep team. They play up and down. They can play any style. They're deep enough. They play it on both ends of the floor, defensively and offensively. Coach Few does a magnificent job with that team, with that program. Then, of course, close to home, University of Houston, they're going up against Baylor, two Texas teams. So this would be for the Texas bragging rights. Now, Houston is led by 3 guards, Grimes, Sasser, and Gerard. Grimes has 18 points a game, Sasser is 13, and Gerard comes in at 10. Then they're going up against another juggernaut, Baylor, who has 2 of the best guards in the country, in Butler and Teague. And when you look at them today, just look at how developed these guys' bodies are. Now you'll see what the importance of weight and strength, a conditioning program, weight and strength, a training table. You'll see what the difference makes when you watch these players hit that floor today. So all Texas in one game, Pac-12 against the West Coast in another game. Nobody, what they say, east of the Mississippi in the Final Four. It's up and down. But if I had to put my money on any team, it would be Gonzaga. I think Gonzaga will prevail. I think it'll be Baylor and Gonzaga in the national championship. And I think that because of the experience of Gonzaga, I think they'll come out in a close game. That's just me.
Oh, well, I value your opinion, and boy, Gonzaga, my goodness. The joke is a semi-pro team. I mean, they have depth, and they can play multiple styles. They can get up and down, as you said, a full-court game. They're efficient in their half-court offense. And, by the way, they don't play bad defense as well. UCLA, 11th seed. Now, LSU did it once before in the Final Four, but it stopped there. So you just said it, when it's all said and done, you put your hat on Gonzaga to win it all.
Right, because I think that, and it's because of what you just said, they can play any style. So if UCLA decides to slow it down like they did against Alabama, Gonzaga said, okay, we can play slow too, and we still going to give it to you. We still going to give you the business because we got Suggs, we got Tim. We still going to give you the business.
Yeah.
So it's going to take an exceptional game. It's going to take almost a perfect game for UCLA, and Gonzaga would have to play one of their worst for them to lose against UCLA.
At this point, but you never know. So, Coach Pettaway, he has put it down. Gonzaga will be the 2020-2021 national champions. That would mean that they've gone undefeated.
Right.
Even in the pandemic, it's still impressive.
Yeah, even more impressive.
Even more, yeah. You're absolutely right. Again, Stanford on the women's side and Arizona. Who do you have?
Well, my heart is with Arizona because of the African American head coach and really McDonald. Yeah. But I think Arizona's going. I think Stanford's going to be a little too strong for them. They're going to remember that, hey, we've already beat you twice. We can do it again.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I value your analysis and your opinion, and we've learned something today.
And we'll just see next week if it'll work out. If it works out that way, and because these are just my opinions. I don't have any inside info or anything. It's just the way I see it and the way I feel it.
Well, I understand that, Coach, and as always, we appreciate the time here on the Carlos Brown Show, and we will visit your predictions next Saturday.
Okay.
And we still got to get into philosophy. And do you recruit to get players to implement what you're trying to do, or do you, at some point, being a coach at an institution for a long period of time, is it important to be able to maybe adjust?
Right, you have
your philosophy.
Yeah, we'll do that because you do have. If you're gonna stay in it for a while, you better learn to adjust your philosophy. Not change it, adjust it.
Right, and also get you to talk again about micromanaging. Right. Now when I would see Coach Pettaway on the court side, now I know Coach Pettaway, but not knowing you back then, I would wonder, is his style more of a micromanager, or does he allow for assistants to have a lot of input? I would have answered it differently back then. Now I would answer it in another way.
Right. All you have to do when I call a timeout, what did you see? What's the first thing you saw when I call a timeout? I huddled with my coaches before I went to the bench.
Mm-hmm.
So
then you guys talk.
Right. And I'm asking for input and allowing input. And I think you got to have that.
That's so important.
Right.
You can't micromanage. It does. And I've seen some great coaches toward the end of their careers. If you look at in the beginning, the first 5 or 6 years, they're calm, collect on the sideline, they're huddling up, and then at the end years, and I've seen some of the great ones, they're trying to run all over the place. They're in the defensive huddle, and you're just going to run yourself ragged first and foremost.
You can't.
And then,
I don't think you can do that.
No, and you've got to, as a staff, it's just my humble opinion, I want the best that I can have around me, and they will be able to say, Coach Brown, I don't think this is working. We need to let's try this and listen to them and their input.
If a guy could not give me input, I didn't want him on my staff.
All right now,
you got to be there to help. We got to win, and if you cannot bring something to the table, you don't need to be here.
Yeah, and I guess that's what you have meetings for,
right?
Coaches only meetings.
Right, to put together your practice schedule. What do we need to work on? What kind of game plan do we have?
Mm-hmm.
That's a team effort. That's not the head coaches. We get the credit, but they do the work, and you got to allow them to do the work. And in basketball, you got to allow those coaches to work on the floor. I've always done that from day one. I started as a 24-year-old coach. I had coaches that was old, assistant coaches that were older. They did the work. I allowed them to work. You got to.
Wow. Thanks for the input. And Derek, what are you talking about? Derek says, quit talking about Odoms on the slide.
No. Hold on.
No, he's talking about me.
Coach Pettaway not talking about Coach Odom.
No.
Okay.
I don't
do that. I don't do individual stuff with coaches. No. Because I am
not
a coach.
Not the Prince, I can't win. I can't win. Oh, there you go.
Carlos, leave Coach Odom alone. I believe you. Do you have, Carlos, do you have a headset? In this day and time, have you tapped into their headset? Are you going to be contemplating today?
I'll probably be banned from my own school. Right?
Look, Coach, let me ask this question. Hold on. Let me ask this question. How he going to expect some empathy from me and he talking about my Panthers? Man, you're not getting no empathy from this side. You on your own, bro.
I know. It's like at the Alamo.
Yeah,
I'm going to go down.
Look,
but I'm
going to go down fighting. And I'm going to say, I'll say, man, he sure was a hard brother, man, to the very end.
To the very end.
Oh. Well, Coach Pettaway, we appreciate the time.
All right. Hey, I enjoyed it, fellas.
Safe.
All right. Everybody, stay safe and God bless.
All right. Oh, boy. Uh-oh. Somebody say, devil gonna get you, Carlos. Unbelievable. Let me take a quick time out and, 11:50. Get B.J. Jones in. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show.
Broadcasters come into our lives on radio and TV, bringing us information and entertainment. Broadcasters are there for us, but who is there for them when they fall on hard times? The Broadcasters Foundation of America provides financial assistance to broadcasters in acute need due to a critical illness, accident, or other serious misfortune. If you know of a broadcaster on the air or behind the scenes who may need our help, please share our message. Visit broadcastersfoundation.org.
Welcome back to the Carlos Brown Show. The last segment, we'll give the remaining time to Brandon B.J. Jones of HBCU Game Day. B.J., good afternoon to you, sir.
Oh, man, I'm actually in the Central Time Zone, man. Good morning.
Okay, all righty. That's Central Standard Time. Well, we've got some big games, the game of the week. Southern and Jackson State, you've played in this rivalry. You've attended the rivalry as a non-player. Give us your analysis of this ball game. What are you looking for?
Oh, man, I'm looking at who controls the emotions of the game first. We know emotions ride high in this game, but who comes back to their senses and plays their brand of football first? I am looking at the offensive line and defensive line. Who controls the line of scrimmage, and which quarterback is able to be effective in the pass game, limit turnovers, and be effective in the pass game. Those are the three keys for victory. And there's the fourth, it is special teams. We know that Southern has given up field position due to punts on special teams, not fielding punts, letting the ball bounce, giving up 20 yards. Do they do that again? And can Jackson State protect the punter? Because we know that Southern will be going after him today.
Excellent points. I couldn't have said it better. You said it better. That's why you're the football analyst. Brandon B.J. Jones. I'm not going to ask you for a prediction. Wait a minute. Who said that? Why not? B.J., do you care to make a prediction? We know who that was.
Hey, I like this. Hey, I like the streak to continue today. I think the Jags are on the mission. I like the streak to continue. I think we'll go party in Jackson as well as Baton Rouge, Louisiana this evening.
Wow. You heard it. BJ is going with the Jaguars. Charles Edmonds, the Jaguars. Dr. Prince told me he believes the Jaguars will win. I am just concerned, but I'm always concerned. I'm so concerned with this ball game. Okay. See now, he said it's not like you're playing offense. So see now, that's a shot because of when I brought up Prairie View a couple of years ago. Okay, that's fair, Dr. Prince. I'll deal with you at another time. Elsewhere on the schedule, upcoming football games: Arkansas Pine Bluff at Mississippi Valley State, of course, and then South Carolina State at Alabama State. Your analysis on those two ball games, BJ?
I'm looking for Arkansas Pine Bluff to see if they can just keep it rolling. We know that game last week got cut short due to weather against Alabama State. In that game, they were a little rusty. They were not as smooth as we've seen in the past. We'll see, do they continue to roll today, or is it a shaky start for them? But I do like Arkansas Pine Bluff to get the win against Mississippi Valley. Then in Alabama State, I think that this is a game down in Montgomery for Alabama State to show their dominance. We saw South Carolina State play against Delaware State, didn't look good. We saw them play against Alabama A&M, didn't look good. This is an opportunity for Alabama State to make a statement. Do they make a statement, or do they just squeeze by South Carolina State, or does South Carolina State pull the upset? And if that happens, the narrative coming out of Montgomery, Alabama, will be different than what we've seen for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, that game last week, just to me, if it would have continued, I think Alabama State wins that ball game against Arkansas Pine Bluff. But just my opinion, BJ.
They definitely look good. They controlled the line of scrimmage, and they were able to run the ball and throw it against Arkansas Pine Bluff.
And you look at the Alabama State team; they very well could have won against Southern. I mean,
yes,
it's debatable, I guess, but it shows how confidence. The team gets confidence, and then they start believing. And we have talked on this show, and I say we, well, me, about Coach Ely, and getting just have a 1-year deal. I believe the performance in the spring. I think they will revisit with Coach Ely about that contract.
I think that they will. We'll see what happens. Knowing some things down there, a lot of people were kind of in the mindset, hey, we're going to move on no matter what. But, we'll see what happens down in Montgomery. That's a group where you never know what they're thinking. And if something seems like it's going to go left, you'll be a good man to go right.
Yeah, well, I did say revisit, although I understand what you're saying. They could revisit, but if they have their minds made up already, it doesn't matter. But so far in the spring, and again, BJ, I look at, I weigh the fall much more heavily than the spring. And so let's see what happens after the fall. This time next year, we'll know a lot more. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think with a lot of coaches, you'll know where they stand, whether it's on firm ground or shaky ground, come December.
Well, I'll leave it at there about coaching, because I've already been accused of being on the sly. I don't think it's being sly. I've been straightforward about the coaches at certain institutions. Back to Southern Jackson State in the last 3 minutes. Some particulars that you're looking at. Jordan Lewis versus the left side or the offensive line of Jackson State. Skelton. Will we see a performance like we saw when he first hit the scene against that team that we won't mention again?
Well, I tell you what, the thing about that State's offensive line is they have had trouble protecting the quarterback when it comes down to the pass game. Now, they've been fortunate to have a quarterback like Jalen Jones for his capability. We know the athleticism that he has. They've been fortunate, but today you have Jordan Lewis, Jalen Ivey, and the rest of the Southern defensive line. They will attack you, and now Southern has incorporated the blitz. They'll blitz from the linebacker position. They'll blitz from the defensive backfield. Now that provides a completely different challenge. And that Jackson State offensive line was struggling with those blitz packages anyway. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes today.
Yeah, and please put a spy on Jones. When he comes out, watch him. Also watch for number 41, Southern, on defense. Transfer player from Young. These wideouts. They're big guys physically, and they can get the job done. That matchup as well, BJ.
Yes, Dalen Baldwin and that group, very talented group of guys. It's going to be that Southern secondary is going to have to rise to the occasion. At times against Texas Southern, let's just be honest, they're not going to be able to have those kind of laps today going against a receiving core of that type of talent, speed, and length.
Yeah. Well, BJ, safe travels. Continue to be safe. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll talk again next week to kind of look at these games today.
All right, man. I'm looking forward to it, man. And thank you.
All right. That was Brandon B.J. Jones of HBCU Game Day. I want to thank also Coach Robert Valdez, Coach Van Pettaway, and Charles Edna. And producer of today's show, Dr. Brother Michael Prince, with the purple and gold glasses on. Unbelievable. Also, want to thank everybody who participated in today's show. Appreciate you listening. Don't forget, if you feel that this show is worthy of making a donation, you can do so via Cash App at the Carlos Brown Show. Quickly, Dr. Prince, who do you have Sunday night?
We're actually taking Sunday night off, sir, in honor of Resurrection Sunday. So we'll come back strong on Monday morning, so you can join us at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time.
Well, you will rise again.
Yes, sir. That's the plan. That's the plan. Don't take it for granted, though. Don't take it for granted. And you know what I was thinking, man? Maybe I need to put a letter in to the AD at Prairie View, Dr. Donald Reed, that we could officially change our goal back to the All-Con goal. So when we play you all, y'all might get a little stiff and we can get some inside advantage on y'all.
That's a good one. You're going to the top. That's a good one. You're going to the top. You're going places.
I love you, brother. I love you, brother. Have an enjoyable weekend, man.
You too, and you and your family. And make sure you join. You're going to the top. And make sure you join me next Saturday at 10 a.m. for another edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Until next Saturday, as always, peace and God bless.